Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, it is, according to the International Trade Secretary, a cause for celebration that Britain exports weapons around the world. Liam Fox made his remarks on the opening day of one of the world's biggest arms exhibitions, hosted here in the UK. The British government says it already enforces the strictest rules for arms exports of almost any country anywhere in the world. But as Porrick O'Brien reports, questions remain, especially about sales to Saudi Arabia, heavily criticised over civilian deaths in the civil war in Yemen.
The Defence and Security Equipment International Event 2017, according to the blurb, brings together global defence and security to innovate and share knowledge. In other words, the world's largest arms fair. Last time it was on, the war in Yemen had started to escalate. We're now 2 years into a conflict that's cost at least 10,000 lives, including children, and has triggered a famine. So, questions about British arms sales to the Saudi-led coalition.
Export of our island kingdom.
A charity campaign launched today with its own less than subtle take on the answers.
Made in Britain. Dropped on children.
UK military exports to Saudi Arabia are over 3.5 billion since the conflict started in earnest.
This is the Paveway 4. It's a bomb made by the giant American company Raytheon. They have a British subsidiary employing about 1,600 people here. The Saudis used this bomb, and we know that in part because fragments of it were found on a hit in a warehouse in Yemen that indicate this was the bomb used. That hit did happen on a warehouse storing food, among other things. We know that because we were there.
The charity Human Rights Watch cite this as evidence of civilian targets being hit. The Saudis, for their part, say it's a case that their internal investigations team is looking into. Which brings us to the UK's licensing regime for military exports. Liam Fox at the Arms Fair today.
They are robust safety measures designed to allow ethical defence exports to flourish, protected by a licensing system that ensures exports are rational and lawful.
Shall we walk and talk? Afterwards, we wanted to ask him specifically, though, about what was happening in Yemen. Quick question just about the Saudis. How many civilian targets would have to get hit before you would revoke a licence, would you say? If he had time to talk, may have pointed us towards a recent High Court ruling which underlined the lawfulness of UK arms sales to Saudi Arabia. The pressure group who brought the case are appealing and spoke to us last night at the unveiling of this new Banksy.
Real people's lives are on the line here. Real people are being killed every day as a result of this terrible bombardment, this terrible war, and we want a full investigation into if UK arms have been used to violate international law.
There are also, of course, real people with real jobs working in the sector in the UK. And into that mix, real ethical questions too.
Porrick O'Brien at the Arms Fair.
The business of war was on display in a London exhibition centre today. 1,000 different companies making weapons and defence-related goods were exhibiting. Among them, BAE, under scrutiny, of course, for its sales to Saudi Arabia and claims those weapons are being used against targets in Yemen in the civil war there. Well, today, the International Trade Secretary, Liam Fox, defended Britain's multi-billion-pound arms exports, saying our licensing system was one of the most sophisticated in the world.
Yemen's war, now in its third year, has taken a terrible toll. The conduct of the Saudi-led coalition has led critics to raise questions over the UK's continuing weapons sales to Saudi Arabia. Today, the world's largest arms fair opened in London. Last year, the UK sold more than £3.6 billion of weapons to Saudi Arabia. The International Trade Secretary came here insisting the government takes its responsibilities seriously.
They are robust safety measures designed to allow ethical defence exports to flourish, protected by a licensing system that ensures exports are rational and lawful.
But a British aerospace job advert from the end of last year led to allegations staff may be involved in loading weapons onto jets in Saudi heading for Yemen. The post was for a weapons load technician based in Dhahran and spoke of accomplishing safe, reliable loading of munitions to Tornado aircraft. We tried to ask Liam Fox about the advert today. Are you aware of any BAE staff loading weapons onto jets in Saudi Arabia for use in Yemen? Because we have an advert from BAE that suggests that is what is going on, Secretary of State.
I'm sorry.
Is the answer yes or no? Is it something you don't want to comment on, sir? Surely the British people have a right to know. In a statement, BAE told News at 10, "Our people are not involved in military action. The scope of the job in question is consistent with our role, which is strictly limited to providing equipment and training. We have reviewed the text of our recruitment information to ensure it is no longer open to misinterpretation." But the questions over the UK's arms trade with Saudi Arabia continue in the light of the war in Yemen. Neil Connery, News at 10.